Welcome back to Book Break. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the most dysfunctional families in literature. There is something so captivating about reading about dysfunctional families, those kinds of families that you know really do love each other deep down, but they just can't quite figure out how to express that love, or often they don't really know each other very well. They can be endearing, they can be completely chaotic, and we love them. So, starting with one of the most dysfunctional families I have ever read about, the Hanrahan family in The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelssohn. So in this family we have the father, Ray Hanrahan, who is a narcissistic bully who is obsessed with his own artistic success versus that of his wife. His wife Lucia is a very talented artist who has been deliberately holding back her own career so as not to upset her husband, because he can be completely beastly to her. She is also having an affair with another woman, a local Labour MP. Of the Hanrahan children, we have the eldest, Leah, who is still living at home, is completely obsessed with her father and is convinced that her mother and her siblings are trying to destroy his life. Patrick, the middle child, has moved out only as far as to live in a caravan in the garden and seems to be having a nervous breakdown. Finally, there is the youngest, Jess, who is the only one of the siblings who actually managed to escape and move out, but she has ended up in a relationship with a man called Martin, who is completely obsessed with the Hanrahan family and basically wants to move in. The whole book takes place during the build-up to an art exhibition that Ray is putting on to showcase his work, and in the build-up the family increasingly falls apart, building up to a completely chaotic and brilliant conclusion. But I might be able to rival the Hanrahans with the Brennanns in We Are the Brennanns by Tracy Lang. The siblings here, we have Denny, the oldest, who was a promising young athlete whose career never materialised because of an injury. He now co-runs a pub. The second child, Sunday, is the only girl in the family, and the book picks up when she has just caused a drunk driving accident and has been forced to return home to her family for the first time in 5 years. And not only does she have to confront her siblings for the first time, she also has to confront her childhood sweetheart, who she was actually engaged to when she ran away and never spoke to them again. Then there's Jackie, who is the family screw-up, and he is on probation when this story starts. And the youngest is Shane, who has an intellectual disability and needs a lot of support from his family. So there is a lot of tension in this family and a lot of history that is slowly revealed to us of what happened with these siblings, what led to Sunday abandoning the family in the first place. And on top of all of that, the father, Mickey, is developing signs of dementia, but is not letting that stop him from trying to figure out what is going on with his family. In Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hai-jin, we have this dysfunctional relationship between a mother and a daughter. So the adult daughter has just needed to move back home because of financial difficulties, and she is bringing with her her long-term girlfriend. The mother has never been able to accept that her daughter is in a queer relationship. It is so against the way that she was raised to view the world, and so she has always struggled with this, which of course has led to dysfunction between this mother and daughter. But this is such a brilliant book because despite the mother having views that are very much against what I believe in, I found her a really sympathetic character. I was really moved by her because you can see the whole way through that she does love her daughter very much indeed, and that she is just battling with the way that she was told the world was supposed to work. And we see her throughout this book trying to grapple with this, and partly because of talking to her daughter and the girlfriend, and partly because of parallels that she discovers between a situation that's going on at her work, she is forced to question the beliefs that she has always held dear. So there are times when I was completely furious with her for being so unreasonable and so hostile to her daughter's relationship, but I also really loved following her along throughout this book as she changes her mind and questions some things, and the relationship between her and her daughter is rocky, but ultimately filled with love. Another really moving book is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, which is a really sad story about a dysfunctional family. So it's set in 1970s Ohio, and it's about the Lee family, Marilyn and James, and then their 3 children, Lydia, Nath, and Hannah. And right at the beginning of the book, Lydia's body is found drowned in a lake, and the police rule it a suicide, but the family are adamant that she wouldn't have done that. And so we flash back and forwards in time to piece together the story of what really happened and see see all the many ways in which this family just never quite, despite loving each other, never quite managed to do the right thing by each other. You will feel really sad for and cross with all of the different characters at different stages in the book, which I think is the sign of a brilliant book. The Most Fun We Ever Had by Claire Lombardo is a multi-generational novel about a couple who are still very much in love after 40 years together and their 4 adult daughters, who are all in difficult situations in their lives, who all felt that having a love like the love their parents had was out of their reach, and so they've all grown up with years of rivalry and resentment between them. So we get to see how these 4 siblings are all dissatisfied with their lives in different ways and how that has led to a lot of clashes with each other. But as with all the best dysfunctional family stories, we do also get to see the ways in which they do love and support each other throughout the years in the ways that they can. In People Person by Candace Carty-Williams, Dimple and her half-siblings are a motley crew of people who do not know each other very well. The only thing that they have in common is their dad and some pretty serious abandonment issues. Other than that, they have nothing to say to each other. But then a dramatic event in one of the siblings' lives brings them crashing back into each other's lives in a big way. And suddenly they find that they need to get to know each other in order to help one of the siblings out of a particularly sticky situation. And as well, in order to do that, they're going to have to reconnect with the elusive father that they never really knew. And on the theme of siblings helping each other out of sticky situations, I had to include My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite, which is about 2 sisters, the younger of which keeps murdering her boyfriends. And every time she does this, she calls her older sister for help, who has to come and help her dispose of a body. And she keeps doing this to protect her younger sister until the day that her younger sister starts going out with the man that the older sister has always been in love with. And suddenly, she is forced to choose between this man and her nightmare of a sister. Then throwing it back to a classic I absolutely love, I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. This one is about Cassandra, who lives with her family in the crumbling ruins of a castle. So she's got her eccentric, introverted father who spends most of his days shut away in a tower with writer's block. Her completely mad but lovely stepmother Topaz, who likes to walk around the castle grounds completely naked, wearing nothing but a pair of boots. She has a beautiful but bitter older sister Rose, who is fed up with the family situation, and a younger brother Thomas, who just wants to help. And then also living with them is Stephen, the handsome and loyal son of the family's former maid, who is completely and unrequitedly in love with Cassandra. But then, when 2 rich Americans arrive in town, Rose sees a way to escape the genteel poverty that the family have been living in, but her plan risks tearing the family apart in the process. And finally, one to put on your radar that is coming out in August is Daisy Darker. So I've got a proof copy here. The finished cover will look like this. This is possibly the darkest of the dysfunctional family stories on this list because this one ends in murder. Daisy Darker's family have spent years avoiding each other because to say that they don't get on is putting it really mildly. But they are now all reuniting for the first time in years for Nana's 80th birthday, which is being held in Nana's crumbling Gothic house on a remote island. And this book is very much inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, because at the stroke of midnight, Nana is found dead, and an hour later, another family member follows. This island that they are on is totally cut off from the mainland for 8 hours overnight. And during that time, someone is killing the family off one by one. So the Darker family are going to have to reckon with their secrets to reveal the truth. So those are my recommendations of the 9 most dysfunctional families in literature, but do leave your recommendations in the comments below on this theme because I just love reading about dysfunctional families. On the flip side, I also love reading about really happy families. So I'll link here to a video I made before on some of the best families in literature. So do click through and have a watch, and I'll see you next time.